In the land south of Calpheon, protected by the sea of woods and nature spirits, comes the land of the immortal beings known as the Elves. The Elves are long inhabitants of the area, the daughters of the Goddess Sylvia. The goddess planted the great tree of Kamasylve, and from there comes the Ganelles, born from the power of the radiant sun, and Vedirs, born from the power of the peaceful moon. The Elves has been mostly peaceful since the beginning of time, but this all changed when the Far Nation, the Black Spirits, invaded. The lore of the Elves expands a very long timeline, which also covers multiple dimensions. Note that some of the details might be changed in the future, as some of the official records might be fabricated or even doctored to tailor the needs of specific factions in-game. Anyway, to start the Elven lore of Black Desert, let's look into the Goddess Sylvia. It was said that long ago, the goddess came down from the heavens together with the ancient spirits, planted the great tree Kamasylve, and gave birth to the Elven race. Then the goddess went back to the heavens to have her rest. However, recent happenings has debunked this myth. The goddess, though considered as a real god, does not came from the heavens. She came from a different world, a different dimension, a different realm known as Elvia, or Aduir in Elven language. She was the master of their world, but like the world of Black Desert, there also exist multiple gods and goddesses, and one god in particular, the god worshipped by humans, the god of depravity and destructive light, the god, Gadir-eyed, had overthrown Sylvia. Now let's sidetrack for a bit. Not much information is yet available for this particular god called Gadir-eyed. It's just recently revealed with the Elvia update that the name of the god is actually Gadir-eyed, but the word Gadir might be familiar to you. It is, after all, the awakening weapon of the wizards. Now the lore of the wizards, an extension the witch, is actually that they came from different dimension, and the wizards organization is actually called Gadir-eyed Thea, which means that the witches and wizards, like archers, are also inhabitants of that different realm. Anyway, after being beaten, the goddess Sylvia, together with her ancient spirits known as Nark, Valtara, and Okiara, had fled their world and entered the world we are living. The goddess and the ancient spirits found themselves initially in a barren land. While the goddess planted her divine tree, the three ancient spirits roamed the land. Okiara sowed her seeds in the said lands, and the poisonous belladonna grass native to Elvia started to grow. Nark, excited about the birth of new life, lost control and poured the fields with rain. Before long, the barren land became a grassland full of belladonna grass, which made the native animals such as wolves and fairies suffer from decaying skin and feathers. Valtara, worrying about the suffering animals, attached the thick feathers from their decaying skin, and thus in the land of Kamasylvia, you'll see animals like wolves, which has feathers instead of fur covering their bodies. After a while, the daughters of Sylvia was born, Ganelles with the power of the radiant sun, and Vedirs with the power of the peaceful moon. After a long time walking the new land, Sylvia and the three ancient spirits has disappeared. The goddess is said to went back to the heavens, or possibly back to Elvia, though some record says otherwise in which she stayed in this world. There are many conflicting stories and records, so let's cover this one up on a separate video. Okiara, who wanted to become gentler, humbler, and ever-loving, became the river. Valtara, who stands tall and proud, became the mountains, while Nark continued to roam the lands, but left Kamasylvia together with the daughters of the moon upon Sylvia's request. For centuries, the elves live peacefully in their new land. They live a long life, but no one knows and don't even ask how they were able to multiply. Anyway, the problem started when an unknown person emerged from the roots of the Kamasylve tree. Vuhura Kahelyak. Such were the first words uttered by the man. He spoke of language that none understand. The elves attacked him with arrows, but the blood which flowed were as black as tar. "It's a demon that needed to be destroyed," cried the elves. But the spirits were against the idea, as he has the trace of Sylvia on him, no matter how small it is. The said man was instead banished from the land, never to return. Now the man later became notorious in this world, he who is no other than the immortal alchemist, Capras. After some time, another thing showed up in the Kamasylve tree. While the chief of Vedir at that time named Joshua Adore was praying to the Kamasylve tree, a snake with scales like a dried white bark of the Kamasylve tree appeared before her and whispered sweet temptations. Mother will come back. The children of the moon will soon appear. Help him make the goddess come to the world. But Joshua Adore refused and attacked the snake. Several years later, then came the black spirits, pouring out from the Kamasylve tree. The invasion started. The elves fought back, but slowly being overwhelmed by the seemingly endless hordes of black spirits. When all hope seems lost, the chief, Joshua Adore, realized that the children of the moon mentioned by the snake is actually the black spirits they are fighting. She informed the chief of Ganelles, Oriana or Nat, then proceeded to burn the parts of the Kamasylve tree where the snake slithers before. Many of the Ganelles became angry to what the chief of Vedir has done, but as the spirits' invasion has stopped, they all kept silent for now. Then several years later, in one seemingly peaceful night, during a banquet held in Grana, the chief of both Ganelles and Vedir, Oriana or Nat, and Joshua Adore, died. Poisoned by the food made by Polly, a spirit living north of Grana. Their death once again sparks trouble to the peaceful elves. Distrust soon grew. The next chief of Ganelles, the first princess, Amelia or Nat, declared her to be the queen of all elves. She executed the spirit Polly, who was the prime suspect of poisoning the previous chief, and openly showed annoyance to the Vedirs for burning the Kamasylve tree. She established the Ganelles, a separate entity from the archer guards and rangers of the Ganelles, an organization loyal only to the queen. Then finally, the rift between the sun and the moon became irreparable with the death of the third princess, Catherine or Nat, in the hands of the Vedirs. A civil war erupted. The followers of the moon has either been executed or hurriedly left Kamasylvia to save their lives. And ever since then, only the Ganelles are left in Kamasylvia, while most of the surviving Vedirs called themselves now as Ahibs and went towards the arid lands of Udelita.